The best way to sum up this latest ReZero episode is it's the death of the Astrea family. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the best way to describe it. Of course, only one's truly dead by the end of this episode, that being, of course, Wilhelm, my boy. The number of times you've had to think your girl is dead is insane. But yeah, Theresa, she ain't making it out of this one. But when you look at, I think, the character arc that we were building into, especially earlier into the season, Wilhelm was on his way to like kind of forgiving and accepting, because at the end of the day, Wilhelm's a pretty reasonable guy. He knows his grandson, the new sword saint, everything that he's had took away from her and everything. Like, it's not a reasonable thing. Like, but at the end of the day, it's a complicated thing, right? So he doesn't want to irrationally hate his grandson. So he was making moves to kind of bring each other together. Wilhelm's son, Heinkel, is a bit of a different story. He's a drunken asshole, but still, like, the whole dynamic was messy. By the end of this episode, Reinhard cuts down his grandmother, and she is dead. She is not only officially dead by his hands, the title of Sword Saint not only just in actual execution and ability, which has already been transferred over to him with the protection, but with her dead, like, yeah, it's officially his. Wilhelm not being mad at Reinhard, not being like, how dare you, similar to his dad, right? Like, his dad's freaking out, like, you're a piece of shit, I'm gonna ruin your life. At the end of the day, Reinhard did what he had to do, something that Wilhelm never would have been able to do. And while he doesn't blame him for those actions, I don't think there will ever be grandfather-grandson reunions. Pleasant times. He accepts that he is, without a doubt, the Sword Saint. He did what he had to, but this family's broke. I don't think it will ever recover. I don't think we're gonna see grandson, father, grandpa all hold hands and, have a family get together something. No, it's broken. That's tragically beautiful, man. It's no one, even if you read the source material, there's no way you were ready for the emotion when you look at how the VAs, the music, the directing, it brings it together in a way that it's got to be even more emotional than when you read it. It's that good. Of course, you want to support my work, though, see my full thoughts on these episodes. We got the Patreon, full and cut live reactions available exclusively over there if you're so interested. It's funny, I made a joke pretty early into the episode. I'm thinking to myself, hey, it'd be kind of wild if, like, we got 3 minutes of action and then just all backstory. You know what I mean? Like, just, like, really they're going to subvert our expectations, because they start the episode off with backstory, right? It's like, oh, okay, like, maybe they'll just do that. 3-minute clean fight. That is pretty much what happened. And maybe for some people that's a disappointment. I think that's fantastic, because this is a very different style fight than what we've had up to this point in this arc. The animation for Wilhelm versus Theresa was just, it was so clean and precise, but some people are gonna deadass say, like, it's underwhelming because it feels slower. But it feels slower for a specific reason. You're fighting with swords, not with, like, magical, supernatural shenanigans, right? Like, this is very clean, precise, very talented sword fighters, and it felt like every sword thrust and slash had movement and meaning behind it, and it was really, really good. It does feel slower and different than previous animation and fights in this season, but that's because when you compare stuff like Garf, it feels like when you're watching Garf's fight, it's like throwing mountains at each of people. Like, this is swordplay, and it's done in a very different way, but it was very concise, and I loved it. But yeah, like, the action has never been, like, the star attraction in any ReZero episode. Like, it can be the thing that people talk about the most or, like, highlight just because, like, damn, it looks that good. But it's always the characters. It's always the storytelling and the emotion. And my favorite thing is when stories do this, or one of my favorite things, but it's definitely up there for maybe even potentially my favorite. When you show the viewer a backstory, which, the whale fight, right? The whale arc, everything that we saw there, like, you could have left it there. And I don't think people would have been like, oh, we're missing this. Like, it's okay to leave things ambiguous, open-ended. And I think Wilhelm's stuff could have been left as it was, even in season 1. And then when you explore a bit more of the whole grandson relation, like, that would have been enough too. But when you go back to that backstory, and then you show their 20 years of marriage, right? It's so beautiful, and you know it's going to be tragic, because as soon as I hear that my boy has never said the words, I love you, out loud, I thought to myself, you sick bastards. You're going to make this man hold her dying body, and the first time he says I love you will be on her deathbed. I was deeply concerned he wasn't going to get the words out and they're going to really kick us in the nuts and she would have died before hearing it. I'm very happy they had a back and forth, but my boy's use of time management is ass. I get that he wants to explain, I never said it. I should have always said it. I've always meant it, but I should have said. You first say I love you and then you expand just in case the timer runs out before you can finish your train of thought. He got real lucky, I gotta admit. Granted, is it lucky when he has to hold her dying body? Maybe not, but still, it could have been worse. So I appreciate, once again, as concerning as it is, that this author is going the route of actually giving more happy-ish endings and victories than I'm used to. Because even though, yeah, he made grandson cut down grandmother, doesn't change the fact that at least Wilhelm got to say I love you, which means I'm still cautious of how either this season or next season goes, because it's going too hopeful in a way. We have a couple episodes left of this arc. Things are coming to a pretty great stopping point, but I don't know where we go, because one of two things has to happen. One of three things has to happen. One, we do end up winning, and stragglers of the bishops escape, and then we live to fight them another day. Two, we freaking lose, and whether that's a reset, something bigger happens, I don't know, or we kill all the bishops. Now, if we kill all the bishops, and they actually commit to that, that's deeply troubling, because what the hell are you going to throw at the characters after them? I don't know. At this point, though, I'm not even going to try to pick a favorite episode of the season from this entire ReZero season, including the first part. It's all been so good, and I think, honestly, this is the type of episode, and I think just season of ReZero in general, that you could ask 1,000 ReZero fans what was the best episode of Season 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least every episode of this season was, a handful of people's favorite. Because it's just, yeah, there's certain episodes, I think this episode would be up there as well for some people, but, there's definitely some fights and stuff that I could see why a lot of people would gravitate towards, but the whole freaking season is just so good that each episode is going to be so many people's favorite. And that's wonderful. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. This was a depressing episode. We knew it was going to be, but damn, look at the flowers. So, your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alrighty, so today we got Just a Micro, Lorena Frazier, Daniel, Marcus Rugerts, Alias Cortez, Jose Raffel Caster, Arctic Fox, Nicole, Azurl, Nebson10, Zine Master, and we also have Christopher. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.